Hey guys, welcome back. It's Chala from PS I Love You. Thanks so much for joining us again for another Scrap and Stamp blog hop. This month we're featuring perfect pearls. I will link all the supplies used down below and over at my blog. Make sure that you leave comments in all the blogs for your chance to win a $50 gift certificate. All right, let's get started. So I have here some Perfect Pearl products, and I really like these. They come in these nice little containers, and this one here is the Sunflower Sparkle. They also come in sets. This one just happens to be the Letterit Pearl powder set. It comes with the ink, 2 colors, and a brush to apply the Perfect Pearls. I'm going to be showing the first card on this black cardstock from Lawn Fawn because it just shows up better on the camera for you. All right, I've pulled out all my supplies. I'm using this Concord in 9th. This is the Blooms fill-in, I believe, and I'm going to use that because it's some great layering stamps. You can use either of these mediums, so the perfect medium that comes with the perfect pearls. However, today I'm going to be using Versamark. It works just as well as the perfect medium. I have it open, and I'm going to be doing some larger stamping, so it's just easier to use the larger stamp for that. The larger ink pad, sorry. All right, so I did bring out this Stamp Perfect to begin with, but I end up ditching that and just going with my acrylic blocks just because I was doing quick layering and it didn't make sense to have to keep pulling off these stamps off my platform. So just kind of ignore this first portion here where I'm just trying to figure everything out. So layering stamps are really great. A lot of people don't know that you can use layering stamps with perfect pearls. Again, perfect pearls, there's many different uses. Today I'll just show you a few, but what you can do is start out by layering the base layer of the stamp. So what you would typically do as your first layer, or the darker layer of your stamp, and I'm just laying these out here. These are the 3 stamps or base stamps that I'm going to be using, and I just want to create a really fun custom background for this. And what I'll just do is I stamp it with the Versamark ink, and then I apply that ink to the cardstock, and then I will go ahead and apply the perfect pearls. So I'll just give you a quick look at what that's going to look like. You can see that I'm just applying a little bit of that perfect pearls and then applying it in circular motions on top of that sticky ink, and then I'm going to brush it off into a coffee filter. Look at that shimmer. I just think that's amazing. It's just gorgeous. I do shake it off or brush it off into a coffee filter, and then I can just simply put it right back into that container and reuse it. Now this is a little container, but don't let that fool you. A little goes a long way with this stuff, and it'll last you forever, trust me. Now you can see I'm going ahead here with the second layer of this stamp, and I'm not putting anything on it. I am simply just lining it up, and then I'm going to stamp it directly down on top of that perfect pearls. And then when you lift it up, sorry, I had some issues lining it up. I wanted to make sure I had it perfect, otherwise it wouldn't line up. So just stamp that down, and when you lift it up, you can see that the perfect pearls transfers to the back of that stamp, and it lifts it off. Look at that, isn't that great? So it gives you that really cool layering effect without the need of different stamp colors or colors. Now I go ahead and just wipe this off with a regular stamp cleaner, or you can just use like a wet wipe or a baby wipe. You can also just take that and directly stamp it onto another project so as not to waste that perfect pearls if you don't want. I didn't really have anything lined up. I was just kind of trying to figure out how and where I wanted this card to go, so I didn't do that. But if you're worried about wasting supplies, you can definitely do that. All right, so I'm just using this big fun makeup brush that I got from the dollar store just to brush off any of the excess perfect pearls that might be on there, and then I just simply continue this process with the next stamp. So again, I'm applying the Versamark ink, stamping that first layer of the image down, and then I can choose my next color. So that first color we used was actually, it was pink bubblegum, or pink gumball, sorry. And then this next color is a gorgeous turquoise. I love this color. Again, just applying a little bit of that Perfect Pearls with the applicator brush. Again, if you don't buy a kit to get the brush with it, an old makeup brush works just as well. I'm going to brush the excess off, and there you see, look at that beautiful, beautiful shimmer and shine when you move it around in the light. Again, I'm now taking the second layer of that stamp, and I'm just putting it on my acrylic block. This time I'll show you with using the little bit of Versamark just to lift that off. Again, you don't need to do that, but if you're worried about it, go ahead and put it on there. It's not going to hurt. You can also then just apply another Perfect Pearl color on top of that. So I'll show you here. I'll stamp this down, lift it up. Again, I can go ahead and stamp that down onto another project or just simply wipe it off. I thought I would try adding a little bit of the Sunflower Sparkle Perfect Pearls to the middle of this just to kind of see what look I got with layering the Perfect Pearls themselves. It was okay, it wasn't bad. I wasn't really in love with it though, because I kind of felt like I lost a little bit of the turquoise color that I loved so much. It looked a little greener, I guess, but not overly. So you'll see here that it just kind of, because the Perfect Pearls was still actually wet, it ended up covering the whole thing. So I'm just simply going to go back and relift that second layer off. So not a big deal. It's a little trial and error. I just wasn't sure if it would work out. It probably would have if I gave it time to dry, but I'm incredibly impatient. So there you go. You can see there that it's got a little bit of yellow in there, and with that turquoise, not as strong of a color as I'd like, but that's fine. So I just simply went ahead and continued that entire process until my entire background was covered, and I used the leaves. Sometimes I didn't even use both layers, I just used one. Now what I'm going to do is, this is a beautiful big sentiment from the Concord & Ninth Hugs and Cuddles set. And what I want to do is do some heat embossing on top of this whole piece. So again, I would highly recommend that you give it time to dry and set up. The Perfect Pearls has a internal binder to it, so you don't need to set it with acrylics or anything. However, some people like to give it a couple squirts of water, mist some water in the air, and then wave your cardstock through it. That water will help to kind of set it a bit. I myself, again, am impatient, so I tend to use the acrylic spray to set it, especially if I'm going to be putting it in the mail. I just want to take that extra step to make sure that my card isn't going to smear or rub off. Again, you don't need to if you let it set properly. So I hope that makes sense. Alright, I'm simply just going ahead and using that Versamark ink again, that sticky ink, and I'm just using some white embossing powder to emboss that big beautiful hug sentiment right on top of my card panel. And then I'll heat set it, and then you will see how beautiful that looks. Alright, so I finished the card off by backing it onto some Sunflower Lawn Fawn cardstock. I added a few coordinating sequins just to add a little bit more sparkle. And look at this. That is just a gorgeous shimmer that you get on it. The video just doesn't do it justice. The pictures don't do it justice. Make sure you pick some up as they're on sale this weekend at Scrap and Stamp. Alright, for my next card, I wanted to show you a bit of a masking technique. And so this is just simply some masking paper, and I die cut a circle in it. And I'll lay that right over top of my A2 size card panel, trying to get it as straight as possible. I have difficulties with getting things lined up properly. So the nice thing with this mask paper is you can remove it and it doesn't tear your paper, and I simply just reapply it, hopefully a little bit straighter this time. Okay, so I'm just going to press that down, and then what I'm going to do is really just apply that Versamark directly onto the card panel. Sorry, words, hard. So right on top of that card panel, and the ink will just stick through that mask, so it'll just really be a nice big circle of sticky Versamark ink. And then I can go ahead and apply that Perfect Pearls right over top of that. Again, just a little goes a long way with these Perfect Pearls. So using just the edge of my brush there to burnish down the edge to make sure I had a good seal on the edges. And in circular motions, just lightly dusting that Perfect Pearls on top, and then I can brush it off. Another way I like to use Perfect Pearls is just to add a little bit into a spritzer of water, and you can create a beautiful shimmer mist to add to your projects. You can also watercolor with Perfect Pearls, so you can put some dry Perfect Pearls down onto the side of your glass media mat like I have here, add a little bit of water, and then just watercolor paint with them as well. That looks beautiful as well. So you're not really limited to what you can do with these. One thing I didn't get to show that I wanted to do was use a Versamark pen. And so that's just a simple pen, and you can scribble or scroll or write and then add the Perfect Pearls over top of your own doodles or handwriting, and I think that works as a really, really nice embellishment as well to your projects. So on this one I did give a little bit of a spritz of water and then waved it through the air. However, I got a little bit too much of the water and it kind of started to lift, so I'm going to go ahead and just apply a little bit more of that right over top to hopefully cover my little boo-boos. So again, these seem to be very forgiving. I managed to cover my mistake quite easily, and you can see here that when I remove this masking paper, the shine off of this is absolutely gorgeous, like just stunning. Look at this. I ripped my mask, but that's okay. The result was well worth it. So look at this. You can just see that shine is absolutely beautiful. Now it is still a little bit wet. I should have really just set it aside and give it time to set up, dry. I didn't. Impatient I am, and I went to the next step of I wanted to layer a stamp over top again. I want to use my StazOn ink because it is a smoother surface and I don't want anything to smudge or smear at this point. That would be devastating to me, and I really should have just let this sit a little bit longer for that Perfect Pearls to set up. I didn't. I'm going to lay my stamp over top and it ends up lifting some of that ink off with the stamp, but that's okay. I will fix that. So the stamp that I'm using, I think it's just from, I want to say Dinkadoo or something like that. It's just a really simple silhouette floral stamp. I wanted the Perfect Pearls to be the main focus of this entire card. I wanted to keep the card simple. So just a really not a lot of color, just really kind of monochromatic in the fact that I'm only using really 3 colors, the white, the gold, and the black. So I did wipe off that Perfect Pearls off of my stamp, and I'll put the StazOn ink on and then stamp it down. Again, I'm using a stamp platform for this one in particular because I do want to make sure I get a really, really good impression, and I wasn't sure how that ink would transfer on top of the Perfect Pearls. It did a fairly good job. I do like to go over it a couple times though to stamp it just to make sure that the image is crisp. You could also do making sure that the Perfect Pearls is completely dry, again using like an embossing powder over top just to pop up that stamped image a little bit, but I didn't think it needed it, and again I didn't want to take the time to wait for everything to dry, so just simply stamping this down, and you can see that that's got a fairly nice image. I think I go over it with, do I do it one more time? I think I'm happy with that, but look at that, just beautiful. I'm going to add a really, really simple sentiment to this card. I created it to be more of a sympathy card with just a I think my sentiment, what is this from? I can't even remember what this is from. I think it might be a Simon Says Stamp one, but just again really simple, leaving the Perfect Pearls to be the main focus of this card. And you can see here the finished card. I did trim down the panel again just to kind of fix the fact that my card was a bit crooked and I didn't have it straight. I just put it on the back of some black licorice cardstock and kept it really simple. For my last card, I wanted to show you this beautiful background of Perfect Pearls, all I did was I took my Versamark ink pad and just saturated an entire A2 size card panel and made sure it was really nice and wet. I applied the pink Gumball Perfect Pearls to the entire background piece, and then I used a background die and just laid that over top. Now if you want, you can do several layers of the background die just to add some depth to your card. Added a few pearls and a simple thank you from the Concord and 9th You Matter, I think it was You Matter, no, Blooms Fill In, I believe it is. Just for a nice simple sentiment, and again a nice quick simple card. I hope you enjoyed today's cards. Thanks so much for joining us. Remember to check out everyone's blog hops, leave comments and likes, and share with all your crafty friends. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks so much for joining me today, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.